Hey, greetings, Facebook friends. It's Sean Carpenter in Columbus, Ohio, and we're back Tuesday night for another episode of Carp's Corner Conversations. Hope you had a great week. Hopefully you got some business done. Hopefully you got some activity done. It's spring. At least it's starting to feel like spring. Those of you in Colorado and out in the west central area, maybe not so much so, but you're used to that. We're not. We're excited it's spring, and I couldn't be more excited than my conversation I'm going to have right now with my friend Wendy Crane. Let me bring her on the screen and say hi. What's up, Wendy?
Hey, Sean.
How are you tonight?
I'm doing fabulous. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, hey, I want to ask all my people, if you're tuning in to say hi to us, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. That way Wendy knows who's watching and from where. Maybe she'll give you a shout out for your broker or your company, and maybe she's been to your town on her travels. But I'm really excited. We've been kind of featuring rockstar women of the Coldwell Banker brand this month. It's International Women's Month, so I figured why not bring some all-stars onto the Carp's Corner Conversations. And we started with Katie Day from down in Houston. Last week we had the incredible Lindsay Listansky. This week I'm talking to Wendy Crane, and then next week I go to my good friend Kathy Shiflett, who's one of our top agents here in Coldwell Banker Realty in Columbus. One of my mentors, my oldest and longest friend in the business. We'll talk to her about everything she's seen and done in the business. But tonight, Wendy, you're on the hot seat. How are you?
I'm doing good.
So life is good. You're out in Portland. And
I'm actually in a little town called Wilsonville, which is just about 30 miles south of Portland.
Okay, so we have a little Portland angst out there. I see how it is. Just want to separate yourself from the hotbed up there in the top corner of the state.
Everybody's like, you got to stay out of Portland. I'm like, stop watching the news. I was just there last weekend. It's fine.
Yeah, well, and we'll talk about that because you had a fun little trip with one of your girlfriends out there. But super excited to chat with you tonight. Wendy, what we do on Carp's Corner Conversations is it's just a chance for me to get together with people I know or maybe people I don't know and talk about what's going on. We've been doing these since COVID hit. So really for the last year, and I've had mentors on, I've had friends on. We had Matt Ferrara and my friend Kim Doherty. We had Chris Leader. We've had David Marine. We now have kind of run the gauntlet with some Coldwell Banker people. I've had some people outside of the business. So I'm really excited to talk to you. You know, we know each other, I think, well, but I wouldn't say we're close. So tonight's going to be a neat opportunity for us to learn a little bit more about you.
Awesome.
And I'm drinking a little Makers and Coke in my Florida Gators glass, and I think you just poured yourself a glass of wine. It's the end of the business day out there. So,
and my mermaid, my friend, I'm still in Florida at heart.
Virtual cheers, right?
Virtual cheers.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's and once again, if you're jumping on watching with us, say hi, leave a comment so we know the comments are working out there in the stream. And let me see if I can get somebody. Anna commented, but let's see. I think I gotta change my setting here really quick. So let me do that, and that way we can see the comments as they come in. And I'll do this. Change my setting. They do a little thing on this StreamYard where they change the privacies, Wendy. Once you start, it goes from public to friends only. And so you got to kind of reset. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So you got to reset the stream so that way people can comment. There are some comments. So we got my buddy Jim Vanis up in Michigan, former Coldwell Banker. Here's Anna Bisher down at Ohio, Indiana, one of our top agents. Congratulations, Anna and Ron, one of our top 10 teams in Cincinnati this year. Here's Jimmy V up in Legacy Real Estate in Michigan. We got my buddy Anthony Malafronte down in your old stomping grounds down in Tampa. He's my Tampa agent, Wendy. You might have recognized that name. So good to have them on. Here's our friend Katie Day.
Katie.
Oh, look at this one right here. Big Lightning fan right here. Look who that is.
Oh, my goodness, Susie.
So bringing some excitement. Thanks for jumping on. All right, so Katie, let's start at the back, right? Or Wendy, I just saw Katie's comment. Let's start at the back, Wendy. Tell us about where you were born and your early days of Wendy May.
Yeah, so I'm from Tiffin, Ohio. It is a small town, northwest Ohio. Almost, if anybody's familiar with Ohio, almost near Toledo. I call it a small town, but I guess it's got 2 colleges, so it seemed like a small town to me. But grew up my whole life there. Went through elementary school, high school, and then I went away to college to Ohio Northern. Tiffin was a cute town to grow up in, but I couldn't wait to get out.
Right.
Too small.
Yeah, kind of I mean, it's not as small, but when you see Footloose or a movie like that, you kind of see why not that you weren't allowed to dance, right? But it's small. Tell the people where it's at, because you're north of Columbus.
Yes.
You're southwest of Cleveland. You're
Yeah.
southeast of Toledo.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it's up in that. It's on the opposite side of Cleveland. So if you know where Cleveland is, you go across the state. We're almost, if you know where Sandusky was, where Cedar Point was, I was 45 minutes in the car from Cedar Point, which has some of the best roller coasters in the entire world. Still to this day, I've yet to go to an amusement park that has better roller coasters than Cedar Point. But a lot of people know Cedar Point. They've heard that. So I was 45 miles, and I was on the Lake Erie, right where you get the lake effect snow in winters. And that was my biggest problem with Tiffin, was just the weather. I love the sunshine. That's how I ended up in Florida. So, and I had lots of family there. It was wonderful because my mom and my dad both had a lot of brothers and sisters. So I had a lot of cousins. So my earliest memories are, every weekend, my dad's family all lived right there in Tiffin with us. So we had a pool, and they'd come over and we'd swim and play kids played all the time. Like, it was a really lovely childhood.
So talk to me about your family. How big is it? And, kind of what your parents do when you grew up.
So I just have one sibling, my sister, who is just my best friend in the whole world, and lives now officially 0.2 miles down the road. I can walk to her house in 2 minutes.
Wait, did you move there because of her, or did she move after you?
I moved because of her and my mom. So my mom is in an assisted living facility out here in Tualatin. And COVID really, really was rough for her. Over the summer, she was in ICU multiple times. And because of COVID, we can live anywhere now. And now I don't have to be, and I could live anywhere before COVID. It was nice because I lived in the Parish area, Sarasota area, and we had a hub there. So it was really nice to be able to go back and forth to the hub. But, when my mom got really sick, and my sister's going through some things, and I'm going through some things, and it was hard. And I was like, you know what? I just want to be with my family. So I called Tim, my boss, and I said, hey, here's he knew my mom was in and out of the hospital all summer long. And I was so grateful because, the entire, executive committee, of course, they said, we want her to go be with your family. And I still have to be on conference calls at 6 a.m.
Right.
So they've not excused me from that.
So no complaining when you get on teary-eyed and big mug of coffee. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll turn I have no shame. I'm like with my hair and no makeup. I'm like at 6 a.m. But my days stop around 2 or 3. So
yeah,
it works.
That's good. So go back. Tell me about your parents, what they do.
Yes. So my dad was the hardest working man. Him and his father. So I came from just a lot of hard workers.
Yeah.
And my dad was a tool and die maker.
Wow. Okay.
As a little girl, he had a shop
in the Midwest, huge in the Midwest.
Yeah. And we had, I can remember being very little, right? We had GE and Whirlpool, and that was the big economy crash of the 80s. Like, all of the factories shut down, and my dad went back to school, and he had a shop in the basement, and it was if you're from up north, the old basements, they're wet and they're brick and they're not finished and they're scary and monsters live there. That was our basement.
I think until I was in high school, I literally ran up the stairs when I had to turn the light off in the basement.
Right. You dared your cousins, right? They had to go in the basement anyways. So I would be down there, and I would watch him building things and putting things together. And I remember he said to me, you're so impressionable when you're a little kid. He had a test, and there was only one question. It was one thing. You had to build something, and if it didn't work, then you passed. And if it worked, you passed. And if it didn't, you failed. And I would be that was his whole class. So, but he went back to school, got his, I even said to him one day, I still don't know what he did, Sean. I'm like, Dad, what did you do? And he's like, well, towards the end, I sat around and waited for the machines to break. And when the people who were supposed to fix them couldn't fix them, I would fix them.
Nice. Okay.
He's a fixer of things. So, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. And my mom, I will say, I think most people who know me know this, she suffers heavily from mental health issues. And the first time I remember her being hospitalized, I was in the 1st grade. So it has been a lifetime of, it's been difficult for her. And we did, you know, my parents ended up getting divorced probably when I was a freshman. It was hard. It's hard. It's a hard thing. But she is a survivor. And I'll tell you what, my mom never ceases to amaze me. She has been through all of it, and she just keeps a smile on her face. And she's an incredible woman. I love her dearly. She's here now. She's not far, you know, she's just down the road, but
that's cool.
Yeah.
So is your sister younger or older?
She is 4 years older than me. Okay.
So you were the baby.
I was.
And did you and your sister, you say you're best friends now. Did you get along as kids?
No.
No?
No.
Did she pick on you? Did she ignore you? What was
about this all the time. Excuse me. My poor mom, right, was at the house all the time with us, and we were terrible. We couldn't stand each other. As I told you, our cousins, we're really close with our cousins, but I was the youngest. So everybody, until my cousin Nicole, she was years later, but she was too young, right? Like I was still with the big kids, so I got picked on. And I always wanted to be with my sister because she was cooler than me. She was older than me. You know, when we were real little, we were close. But as soon as I got annoying, which was, you know, not very 4 or 5 years old, 6 years old, she didn't want anything to do with me. And I would steal her clothes, and then I would wear them to school and ruin them, you know, like she did not. So she left the year going into my sophomore year in high school was the year that because we're 4 years apart, she went away to college. My parents got divorced, and my very best friend moved to Florida. I was 15 that summer.
Man, so that's like a John Hughes movie.
Yeah. It could be. Some of the details of this story that names have been changed for their protection. Anyways, that was a really, really rough summer. That's the summer I fell in love with Florida, because it was such a hard time, you know, with my sister going away, and we never really got along, but she was engaged to, she got engaged and married in 10 days.
Wow.
So she moved back home.
And she wasn't even on a real reality TV show.
She went to Kent State.
Okay. For
1 year. So she went away to college for a year. Then she had a boyfriend who was in the military, and then she decided to move back home because when he was in the Desert Storm. He was in Desert Storm.
Okay.
So when he got on leave and was able to come home, he would come home to Tiffin. So she wanted to be at Tiffin. So she went to Heidelberg. So she moved back into the house. And at that point, she was probably 20 or 21, 20, and I was 16. So, and she had been gone. That's when we got real close. We started getting very close. Like I was probably older to where, you know, I didn't bother her as much anymore, and she had been gone. And so we got really close that year. And then he came home from Desert Storm and proposed. And 10 days later, they were married, and she moved to California and was just gone like that. So, yeah, so I lost my sister. My best friend moved to Florida. My parents got divorced. It was horrible. So my best friend's parents took me to Florida with them, and I spent the summer in Florida that year. And that's when I fell in love with Florida. And that's how I ended up back here.
That's how you're out back there. So let me ask you a question. And if you're watching, if you had a sibling rivalry, type in, was it a older or younger, or was it you, or was it your brothers or sisters that caused the problems? Type it in. I'd be curious to know. So Wendy, let me ask you this. When you were little, you know, growing up there in Tiffin, what did you want to be? Did you have a dream? Did you want to go to the big city? I mean, you lived, I wouldn't say you're in the country, but you're more in the country than Columbus or something like that. So what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be on Broadway. I started doing theater when I was 6. And Tiffin has this amazing vaudevillian theater that was built in like 1920 called the Ritz Theater. And it's famous, and it's in Tiffin of all the places in the world. So I just happened to land in a town where there was a theater. And I literally got in by accident, Sean. It's such a crazy story. Our elementary school music teacher was the music director for a Christmas show they were doing in Tiffin that year. And the little girl who played Becky, the story was about a girl named Becky. She wanted a Cabbage Patch doll for Christmas, right? And there were none, right? That was the year Cabbage Patch dolls were crazy. So it was all about the Christmas spirit. It was written by someone locally. The little girl they casted she couldn't handle it. She was too little. She couldn't do the rehearsals. She was having meltdowns. So like 2 or 3 weeks before they went live, they needed a little girl, and I was very little for my size. So they went to the music teacher and they said, we need someone for this. And she pulled me out of class, me and a couple other girls, and made us sing Jingle Bells. And then she called my mom and she's like, would you let your daughter be in a play at the Ritz Theater? And so they picked me up, and there I was at 6, I think I was 6 actually, 6 years old, on main stage. It was so much fun. And then I did theater for pretty much the rest of my life.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Do you have any favorite musicals or plays or anything like that?
Sweet Charity. I never got to be in Sweet Charity. Actually, I wanted to be in Annie first.
That's what I can see you as, you know, Annie.
I wanted to be Annie. Now I just want to be Miss Hannigan.
Yeah, right.
Hannigan. But yeah, Sweet Charity was one of my favorites, in City of Angels, which are probably ones most people don't hear about. My last year of college, I played Maria in West Side Story.
Wendy, I promise I won't put you on the spot now, but based on your answer, that could change later. But not on Carp's Corner Conversations. Are you a good singer?
Yes. I mean, I used to sing the national anthem for our awards ceremony. So if I say no, people would be like, no, I'm not a fantastic singer, but I can definitely hold it.
Oh my God, I cannot wait till the next.
There's been a very small time in my life when I didn't sing, and this is it.
The next Gen Blue where there's karaoke nearby, we are going, and
I've been in karaoke at most Gen Blues. Where were you?
Put my money on WMC, Wendy Mae Crane. Run WMC, that's what we'll call it. Yes. So all right, so you go to high school. Was it Tiffin High?
It was Columbian High School.
Oh, that's right, Columbian.
Yeah, just one high school.
All right, so I got to ask, what clique did you run in? Were you in the theater nerd clique, or were you a sports person? Were you a mean girl? What were you?
I was a cheerleader for my junior high year, so I was kind of in the cheerleader clique. But because I was a theater person, I was also with the theater people too. So I kind of fit in a lot of different groups.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. So let's get to college then. You had a chance. Did you look at a lot of different colleges? Did you know you were going to stay in Ohio? You know, knowing that you maybe were thinking Broadway, was that, or by the time you got to high school, was that no longer an option and you were maybe just trying to get out of Tiffin?
I'm so embarrassed to tell you, but I'm going to tell you the truth. I went to Ohio Northern University because my boyfriend at the time, who I had dated all through high school, went to Ohio Northern University. They had a 5-year doctorate and a 5-year pharmacy program. So he went to Ohio Northern and I just followed him there. But they had an amazing theater program. They built this, the president at the time was called Dr. Freed, and they built the Freed Center. So, I mean, it's still to this day one of the most amazing, you read about it in magazines. Like when the year that I played Maria in West Side Story, they flew the set in from New York. Like we had people from the Russian Moscow Art Theater come in and teach our classes. Like it was such an amazing experience. And the class sizes were small. I mean, my biggest class, I think I had 27 people in it. So I mean, I loved Ohio State, like I love Columbus, but I know myself and a small school was better for me, so I could go to class and get an education.
Tell us a little bit about Ohio Northern and Ada, Ohio. You're the Polar Bears. What is Ada smaller than Tiffin?
Yes, Ada is a village. It is called the Village of Ada, and there's one stoplight, and a Hardee's, and one bar, and it was called the Regal Beagle. So just like Three's Company, I promise.
Like Three's Company.
One bar.
Knock on my door.
Quarter draft nights on Tuesday. I'm aging myself.
Yeah, you are.
But it was a great little town. It was not even an hour from Tiffin, so I wasn't far. I'd drive into Findlay to work, or Lima. Either one. I was a waitress all through college, or a server. I think that's the politically correct.
So Ada's over in Northwest Ohio, over closer to Toledo.
No, Ada is further south, so it's closer to Dayton. So
is it really? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I've never been there. I need to get to the campus and just check it out. It's probably not much there, but
I need to get. I have not been back since I left, which is sad. Everyone tells me it looks really beautiful now.
You could be a distinguished alumni by now, right? Get your name up on a brick or something like that.
That's right.
All right. So you graduated with a degree in theater?
Yep. I have a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Musical Theater. So I actually studied when I started, Sean. I had I had a broadcast journalism and musical theater. Lindsay. So, but they both required a lot of out of class time. Like I was doing the morning news at 5 a.m. for the radio station. Then I had a DJ slot in the afternoon. And then I had like dance classes and voice lessons. And then I was doing shows. And it was like, they both required so much out of class time. And I needed to make a decision, like which one to choose. And theater was always just my love. So I threw caution to the wind and got my degree in Bachelor of Fine Arts in Musical Theater. And I will say, so my father was very smart with us girls. He told us he would pay for our college education, but we had to get good grades. Like if we didn't get good grades, he wasn't going to pay for it. So basically, when I graduated, it's all paid off. Like, so had I made that mistake, like, and screwed around, I wouldn't have had my student loans paid. Like, so.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But you enjoyed your college time.
Yeah. And, I think I have some parents probably would say, why would you pay to give someone a degree in like a theater degree? You're going to pay for it. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Study something, go to school, what you love. Like I'm not doing theater, but man, what I learned in that school, improv, the ability to talk in front of people, that my ed expos that I do now, like all of that I learned that, through theater and through my school. So I think and now I have a job that I love,
The only thing I wish you would have gained either in high school or in college would be confidence, because I just think if you could find that, you could really, I mean it, Wendy, you could be really amazing if you had some confidence. All right. So you graduate, you're not sure you're not heading off to Broadway. You're not heading off to LA to chase fame. What was your first job out of college?
Oh, goodness.
Did you go back to Tiffin? Did you stay in Ada? Like, what did you do?
I moved to Florida with no money and no job.
You really like a day after graduation, you just kissed your dad and mom goodbye and said,
literally, it was July 5th. So I graduated in June. And I think I told my dad, the summer I moved to Florida and I spent that summer that I was 15 with my best friend Danielle, and fell in love with Florida. And then I had to come back to Tiffin, Ohio, which was horrible. Like cold, you're 15, you spend the summer on the beach in Clearwater, Florida. Like you're just changed forever. I was changed forever that summer. And I came home severely depressed. I hated everyone that I had to come home. I wanted to stay there and go to school. They had a musical theater in her school there in Clearwater. Her parents said I could stay. And my parents were like, no way. And that was a good move on my parents' part, making me go back to Tiffin. At the time I wasn't happy about it, but so I went to college. I kept telling my dad, like, as soon as I graduate from college, I'm going to, move. I'm moving to Florida. I'm moving to Florida. I'm moving to Florida. And so I graduated from college and I talked to somebody I had met that summer when I turned 15, and he knew a girl who needed a roommate in Ybor City. And I called her on the phone and I was like, I want to move to Florida. And she said, okay. And I didn't sign a lease. I had no job. I had $500. I put everything that I owned in my Ford Probe, and my dad, he drove down with me, and we drove down to Florida. He took me to a store and bought me like a $500 dresser and bed like thing with the cheapest thing you can get. And then I took him to the airport and he looked at me and he said, don't even think about calling me for a single penny. And that was it. And he was gone.
That's that hardworking dad saying, like, I worked my ass off for my money. You figure it out, right?
Yeah. And I would not have, and I'll tell you what, I mean, there were times when I borrowed cat food from my downstairs neighbor, because my first job, which is how we got to this, I was making $8 an hour as a telemarketer because I couldn't find work. I moved down there and had no work, nothing, right? So what do? And Sean, I tell the story when I train all the time. I would have told you, you would never in a million years would I be a telemarketer on my dead body. Yet there I was in Florida with no job. And it was either this, I have to be a telemarketer, or I have to move back to Ohio and like eat my words with my dad. I'm like, I'm going to take this job. So I'm doing phone sales. And I was the head of the class for a week when we had to memorize scripts, right? Because I'm a theater major.
Spoiler alert.
So, but when it was time to pick up the phones, I was like, so horrified. And like, I got a sale, like by I don't even know, it's an automated dialer. And it ended up being like so fun because I knew my scripts. And I went from $8 an hour to the director of sales training there within 7 years. So
wow, you were there for 7 years.
Yeah. Yep.
You had no idea that would happen, huh?
No.
And I got to go back to something you said earlier, and I just want to clarify because the listeners are probably thinking the same thing. When you said you had to borrow cat food from a neighbor, did you have a cat or is that what you were eating?
Yes, for my cat.
Okay,
I
thank
was
God.
eating cat food.
If you're listening and you've heard the same thing, leave in the chat saying you thought she was eating cat food too. Because I
wouldn't have borrowed cat food from the neighbor. I would have borrowed like macaroni and cheese.
Macaroni and cheese, bacon. Right. Yeah. All right. So you do that for 70. God, I didn't know you were a telemarketer. Holy crap. You were just dialing for dollars.
Yeah. And then I ran their training department, right? So I started on the phones just like everybody else. And then I became a supervisor. And then, they had me doing the training and then I was running the training department. So I was traveling with them.
See, they all thought you were saying you borrowed it for food.
Cat food. That's hysterical. I'm glad you clarified that. That's how rumors start.
Thank God. Yes. Wendy Crane, the cat lady.
Oh goodness.
So finish me. So did you,
telemarketing?
Now that I know that you were in telemarketing, I keep now thinking of Michael J. Scott telemarketing on The Office, right? When he got the part-time job, he was doing improv and telemarketing, right? This is exactly you. You just need a couple that says world's best boss.
But that job, I learned sales at that job. Like I had mentors at that job who taught me how to be professional and an adult, because I was 22 when I started working there, for heaven's sakes. I grew up in that place. And so I'm very grateful for that time. And when I became a realtor, I wasn't afraid to pick up the phone and call people. What I learned there starting at $8 an hour translated so beautiful into the real estate industry. And then, my Midwestern work ethic.
Right.
It was easy.
Dad. Yes. So take me to that at some point in time, you're at the telemarketing center, but then you decide real estate might be an opportunity for you. Or was there another job in between?
No, there wasn't. As a matter of fact, that job, I had just gotten married. I had probably been married for a couple of years at that point. And my husband was like, you could be making a lot of money if you, stop working at that place. They're taking advantage of you because you're young. And I'm like, but I grew up there. I mean, I was traveling to Argentina doing training, which was fun. Right?
Wow.
Send me to Argentina. So, we had bought a house that was like an hour or 2 hours away. The commute was really bad. And I was doing the commute and I was just like, this is not going to work. And I had met some people who, actually some friends from Ohio who lived in the same subdivision where we bought our house. The girl was a office manager for a real estate company. And she was getting her real estate license. She's one of my best friends now, Julie Roller. And she's like, you should get your real estate license. The guy that when we bought our house, also, who was a broker, was like, your wife should get her real estate license. Always recruiting, right? Always recruiting. Right. And so it was like, after just going back and forth and driving and just, I finally just decided I needed to go. So I quit that job and immediately got into real estate school in October of 2004. And
it's 60 hours in Florida, 70 hours?
60 hours in Florida.
60. Half of what
I took the 7-day. I literally went and you had to go to the classroom. There was no online, right? Like I sat in the classroom. It was brutal.
Right.
So terrible. I'm not kidding you. The woman who taught the class was like she was reading it. And I was sitting there to myself, like, I could just go home and do this myself, but you have to sit in the classroom, right?
Yeah. Butts and seats. So you get your license and you started with what company?
Buccaneer Realty.
Okay. Oh, nice. Did you have to wear like an eye patch or?
No. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So our broker, Patrick McGuire, may he rest in peace, died suddenly last summer. And he was my mentor. I mean, he taught me real estate. Like he was such a good teacher. Jennifer Scott and Patrick McGuire both were the owners of Buccaneer Realty. But Patrick really took me under his wing. Like he had me going over the contract with him. He was role playing with me. He really helped me in the beginning to get some confidence. And I think this is so important. And this is how he always grew his teams. He always gave his people a listing or two, because listings are how you get buyers and listings are where you can hold open houses. So he got me busy in the beginning doing the things. Of course that was 2004 and listings that was at the beginning of Florida was ahead. So 2005, actually was probably when I started actually selling. I, went to school in October. You had to wait, it was a long process to get your license. Not like today. Again, like it's so crazy how much has changed. But yeah, so I was with Buccaneer Realty for the first 3 years of my real estate career. And it's funny because of course you start out as a buyer's agent, right? Besides he had given me some listings, and I sat floor every day. Every day I sat as much floor. I did open houses every single weekend. I sat floor every single day. I remember Jennifer, who was the broker, came up to the front one day and she's like, "You have amazing phone skills." And I was like, "I was a telemarketer." Right. I have amazing phone skills. So I made more money my first year in real estate than I did the last year at my last job.
Sure.
But my first listing expired because the market had when I finally got my first listing, the market went.
Were you at 07 or 08?
I took my first short sale in 06.
06, okay.
Mm-hmm. We went first. I mean, we went way in the beginning. So, I'm a buyer's agent. I started off as a buyer's agent in a market like this, right? Where like there's nothing on the market. I had this lovely couple that I love so much. She was like 9 months pregnant. I must show them 36 houses. Everything's under contract, multiple offers. They call me on a Sunday. We just bought it for sale by owner.
You're like, no.
Less than hard time one time, right? Like I was brand new. That was in the very beginning. I didn't know better. I never lost that again.
Right.
But, that's how you learn.
All right. So take us to Coldwell Banker. At what point did you go from Buccaneer right to Coldwell Banker? Did you go to Buccaneer to someone else or?
I did not leave Buccaneer. We got acquired.
Okay. By NRT. Nice.
We got acquired by NRT. And this is so funny. This is just Patrick. I know, Susie, he was so wonderful. It's funny. I was thinking about leaving anyways, because I knew, right? Like it was only so far. It was a small brokerage firm. So I did well those first couple of years and I made more money each year, but like I knew I needed to go somewhere else. And, our broker at the time, I'd seen some people leave and, they can take things personally. It's personal, like it's her business, right? So it felt strange to think about leaving. And even though I was thinking about leaving, I came to work one day or to the office one day and they had a big meeting. And so we go to this meeting and it's like, Jennifer gets up to talk to all of us and she's like, "We're no longer Buccaneer Realty. We're Coldwell Banker." And there's Budge, right? And who doesn't love Budge, right?
Right.
Budge Husky. And
he's on my list to talk about. Yeah.
Sue Wolverton and Michael Taylor, who I ended up just absolutely adoring. But I was just like, what? Nobody tells me who I am. I'm not Coldwell Banker. Who are you? They like handed me my
business vote on this.
Yeah. My business cards and my name to badge. And I was like, well, that's awfully assumptive of you, right? Like, no. Oh, I'm so sorry. So I go home and I'm like distraught about the whole thing. And I'm trying to just figure out what am I going to do? And I got a call from Michael Taylor and he said to me, "We've got this really great trainer coming into town to do a series next week. And, you should really attend." And I was like, oh, because, I love I'm a learner. I love to learn.
Yeah.
So I went and sat in the front row. And I am telling you to this day, that training session changed my entire life because I was taught how to understand the real estate. I mean, I didn't understand inventory. I didn't understand days on the market. I didn't understand how to talk to a seller. The market had crashed so dramatically. I mean, we were in so much trouble and it was like they had trend graphics. The first time, I mean, I was eating it up, like how to properly price, how to have a pricing strategy, all of the things. And I was just like, this is amazing.
Was this Jay Schweppe and
yes, it was Schweppe. It was Schweppe, True North.
Yeah. They were great storytellers and they were so good at handing off the, between the two of them. And yeah, that power pricing was a
power pricing. Yes, it was called power pricing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Power pricing.
Very
so
cool.
And I took that and I literally, because I told you my first listing expired because the market had changed, right? I literally was taught to price. I promise you, like this. Okay, so how much do you need to net from your house right now in order to get into your next house. Okay, you need $50,000. Well, my fee is X. So this times X is this. And so this is what you list your house at. And it would sell, even if it was like too high because the market was so crazy. I mean, that's literally how I was taught to price.
Yeah, that's funny.
So sad. So, you know, I had to go back to my sellers at the time and eat crow. I mean, and at that point, like I was all in, and I remember he said, what did he say? And I tell people all the time, like you have to be different. Like you have to believe that you are different. You have to work differently. You know, it's unfortunate, but if you're in this business for long enough, at least when I was in it, there's not a lot of really, really, really fabulous, especially in hot markets. There's some great, they're professional. I mean, Coldwell Banker agents, there's lots of agents that are great. But if you take all of the realtors, a lot of them don't understand how to read a contract. They're with a company that doesn't train them on how to do things. And you know, it's hard when you're another agent out there who's trying to do the right thing and the agent on the other side doesn't know how to read the contract or, you know, all of these things. And that was just, you know, I think we probably have some agents who are experiencing that today. I mean, you had new agents coming into the industry at record pace.
So I didn't know this, Wendy, that you kind of followed the same path I did in different paths, but you know, you were a successful agent. Then you decided to give up selling to go into teaching and training. What was that conversation, or what was that moment, whether it was between you and your husband or you just kind of following kind of your passion to get up in front of the room?
So I had zero intentions of ever leaving selling. I built that business and I loved my clients. And I got approached by the corporate office, actually, Gary Kopko. No, Melinda. It was Melinda. I can't remember Melinda's
name. Who was before Gary, or?
No, Gary was still there, but Melinda, and I'm so sorry, I cannot remember Melinda Gray. Melinda Gray was running Florida at the time, and she did a one-on-one with me. They were doing one-on-ones with top agents, you know, and she was teaching about, you know, Facebook and yada, yada, yada. So we had a one-on-one, and she looked at me and she was like, have you ever thought about getting into training? And I was like, oh, I actually used to run, you know, training for another company. I'm like, I am not interested. Like I have loved real estate. I love this business, you know, so that was it. And then she called me back and she's like, would you just have lunch with me and Gary Kopko? And I was like, sure, of course. So I went and had lunch with her and Gary Kopko. And then they called and offered me a position and I turned them down. And then they offered me another position and I turned them down. And then they called a couple of months later when the entire state of Florida had opened up. And at that time, my husband had just gotten licensed because I was so busy. I was at the point, Sean, where I was miserable in my business. I was calendaring and I have it like, I think there were 19 days in a row where I worked 16 hours a day. Like I'm a workaholic. My dad was that way. I just worked.
Good at it. You were good at it. Yeah.
So, and I was burnt out. And so and my husband was out of work. So he got his license to help me. And I was like, we should build a team. Like I'm going to go lock myself. I'm going to go get a room at the beach for a week and I'm going to just write how I do it. I'm going to write all my stuff. You can recruit. I will train. We're going to build a team. Well, at that exact same time was when Gary called me about Florida. And, you know, as my husband and I are getting older and insurance is really expensive and he now had his license, I was like, I can give the business to you and I can get a corporate job that's got benefits and a 401k. And so it was like, that's what we're going to do. So it was a very, very hard decision for me to make. I have to say, it was a lot of sleepless nights in prayer. And at the end of the day, I do not regret it. I mean, and I'll tell you what did it for me. Well, first of all, Gary's amazing. Gary Kopko, love him dearly. But I interviewed with Clark Toole and Kate Rossi. And I mean, you spend time with either one of them. I mean, I remember sitting at home that night and thinking about the interaction with the three of them. And like, I could be a real estate agent and run this business and, you know, that would be awesome. Or I could like be mentored by these amazing people. And I am telling you, they are mentors. They took me under their wing, being under Clark Toole's direct for 5 years. I mean, like, I can't even put a price on what, and that's why I love this brand so much. And I bleed blue because it changed my life. Like, I mean that from the bottom of my soul. And that's why I'm so passionate about coaching and leadership, because we all have that opportunity. I mean, and it was the brokers, a lot of the brokers, Patrick being the first one. Frank Obringer, I mean, I'll never forget when I came into his office and he was like, we're taking you to the next level this year. We're taking you up. I was like, no, we're not.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't handle any more business. I'm totally fine. I make enough money. And he's like, no, you can do more. And he literally punched it into the computer and hit save and printed it out. And he said, I'll help you.
That's awesome. So wait, let me go through a couple names. You said Patrick. You said Melinda. Gary is one of the just most brilliant people I know. Smart, funny. His sense of humor is unbelievable. His dryness. He was a big mentor to you, obviously. Clark just couldn't be a nicer guy. Underneath him was Budge, who went on to bigger and better things and is now back in Florida. Amazing. Kate Rossi, I know, is a huge mentor of yours, right?
Yep.
Just powerful woman, super confident, kind of got to say, I'm kind of a little bit afraid of her. She's so strong.
She's scary. Oh my gosh. I mean, I was horrified.
Did she call you kid? I assume she called you kid, right?
I told Gary, after my interview with her, because she was like, kid, what's it going to take, kid? Do you want this job or not? And I was like, I left and I was like, Gary, I don't think she likes me. And he's like, she loves you. She came into my office. She thinks you're fantastic. I was like, okay, because I wasn't really sure. It's hard to tell. But she really, I mean, Kate of probably everyone, because she's vocal. And when she sees talent, she tells everyone, right? So she told everyone about how amazing she thought I was. And like without Kate's as a cheerleader for me and an advocate for me and Clark behind her, I wouldn't be where I am today without them.
I gotta thank my buddy Sue Wolverton, no longer with our company anymore, but she was kind of what brought me and you together when she brought me down. We were friends from Integrity Coaching days, and she said, look, I got to bring this guy down to engage with our agents in Sarasota, and then obviously down in Fort Myers and Naples. That was a fun little tour. Duff now back running Florida. You saw him grow up from a little kid almost.
Yes, and it's so wonderful because I remember the first time I saw him speak, and then I remember right before I left. It was probably one of the last awards, and he was in Miami, and he was just doing a kick-ass job in Miami. Kate's amazing. And I mean, he was like a different person. And I pulled him aside and I said, Duff, Clark mentored him.
Yep.
Duff is coachable. And that's one of the things about Duff that is so wonderful. Duff is hard and fast and quick and decisive, but like if he does something or makes a wrong decision or hurts someone, he will be the first person to say, you know what, I'm sorry. I respect that so much about him. He's real. I think he's the right person for that position in Florida. And I was super sad to see Clark leave, but Duff earned that position.
Yeah, but it was probably time for Clark, and good for him to not to be able to enjoy part of his life, and to know that someone he mentored is taking over and going to do it the right way.
That's what he wanted, right? He did it exactly the way he wanted to do it.
So I don't want to run out of time. This is an amazing conversation. Let's get to the new role, because you it went quickly because Gary retired. You slid up into the bigger position for Southeast. Then all of a sudden you had this opportunity to become the VP of learning for Coldwell Banker. That's kind of cool. So tell us what your role is and kind of who you touch.
So I was the first position that is leading a one Coldwell Banker effort when it comes to learning. So before my position, Chuck Cusson was the VP of learning for, the brokerage side, and Matt Case was on the other side. And Matt's position was available, and they offered it to me, and I said, no, thank you. I can't move. I won't move to New Jersey. Right. Excuse me. So during that time, there was just kind of went quiet. I had some stuff I had to deal with, and I got a call from Brian Ellington and Chuck one day, and they got me on the phone and they said, hey, we want to approach you about a different position. We were thinking that there should only be one vice president of learning for Coldwell Banker, and it should be for all of Coldwell Banker. Right. Chuck will move into a different position, but we think you're the right person and the right dynamic to do this. And then caveat, you can still live in Florida. Ding, 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 ding. So I'm
interested. Tell me more.
Yeah. So, I mean, Of course, like the first time to do something, right? Like this position never existed before. So I've got the company owned, I've got the affiliates, I've got commercial also. So it's a very big role. And I will tell you right now, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. It has been so hard, but really good. Really good. I can say that now because the hardest parts are over. But anytime, and I jumped a couple of levels in management. So I went from a manager to a VP, which is that's a big jump anyways. And I was concerned. I said, I don't think I'm ready for this. Like I've never run a budget before. Like I haven't done these things. Like this is a really big, and I was encouraged to do so and told I would be given help, but I think you just kind of have to, you get into those positions. And so coming from the company owned side, I knew all about the company owned side, but I did not know anything about the franchise side. And I mean, it's a different world. Yeah. So, the first thing I had to do was build relationships, Sean. Nobody there knew me, right? Everybody on the NRT side knew me and loved me. Right. And I mean, maybe most of them, hopefully they love me. But I've built a lot of strong relationships over the years. I love those people, right? So, but none of these people on the affiliate side knew me. So I threw myself into travel like crazy. And I mean, I was on the road probably 90% of the time. Yeah. And I did that to myself, right? Like that's all me. Like no one told me I had to be on the road that much. So, but trying to be on the road that much and create those relationships and then still trying to like learn how to do a job. Oh man, it was a struggle. Yeah.
What is the major difference between the brand and the franchise sides from where you sit, from the education and the delivery and because they're both value add, I got to think, for the agent on the street and the broker level. But what would you say is the major differences for the people on here? It looks like we got a lot of people watching that are the brand side.
Yeah. So if you've got, if you think about a company owned, the company owned has a company hired, paid for trainers that are employees. Right. They have full-time trainers that are employees that train their agents. There are 26 of them that span all across the United States. I've got about one per state. Florida has a couple extra. California has a couple extra because they're huge, right? There's like
kind of what I used to do before all the changes happened, but that's what I did in Columbus and Cincinnati.
Right. Yeah. So we've got Amber Pelnish. Yep. Now she's doing the Ohio market. Yep. But on the affiliate side, so they're all independent companies, right? So for example, the real estate group has their own trainers because they're a company that hires trainers, and they've got Michelle Carter. She's the director of training, and then she has her own trainers. Right. So we provide where we are actually doing the training on, and we do the training also on the affiliate side. We have virtual trainers that train. So if you are an affiliate and you don't have your own trainer, you haven't hired your own trainer, you can still go to our training. We have a virtual calendar that your agents can attend. But a lot of those companies want to have their own trainers. So what we provide them is we provide them the material so that they don't have to create it, right? We have instructional designers that create the material, that do the research, that make sure that it's professional and it's branded, so they can just pull it off and teach it. And we train their trainers how to train.
Yeah. And obviously this environment we're in now, it allows you to kind of push out one message to a lot of people versus having to fly from city to city to city to push it out with a 3-ring binder, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's, I was the first person to say this is not going to work because I'm a people person and I love my live training, but there is a time and a place for everything. And what we've been able to do virtually and the number of agents we've been able to touch it's incredible. It's amazing. And they're still getting an increase in production, whether we see them in person or they're on the computer, because it's about you, right? It's about what you're willing to do. Are you willing to commit? Are you going to do the work? And if you can get them to do the work. So yeah, it'll be hard to, I think we'll go back to live events. I would like to see more events, and I'll see, my vision, Sean, would be maybe like quarterly, to have quarterly sales rallies where we all get together. We do script practice and we do our listing presentations. We do the hard work.
We do the masterminds. We do the panels. Yeah,
yep. Yeah. And then you go out, and then we have our courses, Amp and Out, List Out, Last, that you can take virtually, right? In the in-between time. So I'd like to see a hybrid like that.
Yeah, I like that. Let's talk about some fun stuff. Gen Blue memories. I want to post something really quick because one of my favorite memories with you, let me see if I can find it right here. And let me just put this up. That was at the the team event, support your favorite team, Soldier Field. Unfortunately, it was pouring down rain. Like not even like drizzling. Because I think if it was drizzling, we all could have got out of the field and done some stuff. Remember, we were going to kick field goals in Soldier Field.
Yep.
It's kind of ironic that the Ohio boy was dressed as a Gator because that's what my team is, and you or the Florida girl dressed as the Buckeye.
Right?
But tell me about some of your favorite Gem Blue memories, whichever ones. We talked with Lindsay about New York and LA and Chicago. And
yeah, I mean, my first one was Chicago. So I hadn't gone before Chicago. So, that one is always going to stay out in my memory. But Miami, of course, that was in my home turf. So that was so much fun because I just drove over and, the white party and just being in your hometown. And Miami is such a great city. I got up in the morning and went on runs and then did training in the afternoon. That was, of course, before I was in this position. The first Vegas. Now the first Vegas was probably epic because it was 2017 when they reorged learning for an RT. And Chuck Cusson was the VP of learning. And he put together our team of Dave Metton, Brandon Hines, Kathy Livingstone, and I. Like it was the 5 of us. And we had just kind of met for the first time, not too long, just a couple of weeks, I think, before that in New Jersey. And we just had this team dynamic that was phenomenal. Like I will never have a team like this again. Like just the 5 of us, we had so much, we worked so hard, but we had so much fun. And Vegas was so fun. We got so much done, but like we created these new relationships, and it was just again, when you love your job and you love your coworkers, like it was so much fun. The number of times that I've said, seriously, I get paid to do this. This is crazy.
Yeah. It's such a good thing. And man, let's just keep our fingers crossed and pray that these vaccines keep rolling out and we can get back to some live.
New York in October.
New York, and we're expecting it. Right now we're banking on it. And it's just so much, because there's just so much energy when you leave there. And I know our friends at Remax and Keller Williams and the other brands, they do the same thing. But man, when you come back, you're so blue, you're so fired up, you're so ready to get to work and put the ideas into action. But the cool thing is you build these relationships with agents from other parts of the country that now you become friends with, and you become, people to talk to. A couple quick questions before we go to the speed round, the famous speed round. Think of all the time you've been teaching. What's your favorite topics to teach?
Pricing.
Pricing?
Pricing, yep. Pricing and presenting.
Just because you're so bad at it at the beginning, or?
Because of Schweppy. I mean, I feel like there's so many agents who don't understand it. Like they truly do not understand how to read inventory, how to talk to a seller, how to educate a seller. I want every real estate agent to understand this business inside and out. So every single seller has a fantastic experience when they deal. And I just feel like there's always light bulbs that go on in the room when I teach it. I can see it. People don't understand. And then they leave and they're like, I know how to do this now.
Right. Yeah. I tell people all the time, I say pricing will be the hardest thing you ever figure out because it's never exactly right. Right. Like you could not take a listing because the seller says a number and you're like, it's not going to sell. And then it sells, in literally one day. So
in the market.
Yeah. And the markets will change. Look, you've been in it long enough to know the market will change. We don't know when, but we've got to prepare ourselves, for when that changes. How about best advice for a new agent? If someone's new watching this, what would be some of the maybe 1 or 2 things that you say, here's what you got to do to get your business up and running?
Get out of your own way. That number 1, you have to do the hard things. This is not easy. This is not an easy business. You have to be disciplined. You need to block your calendar and you need to be committed. Okay. It's not rocket science, right? We could do the exact same thing that you and I did when we started today and we would have business.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I tell people it's really build relationships, solve problems, and have fun. If you do those 3 things every single day, those things, the contracts, the closings will take care of themselves. Yes. All right. First impressions on Oregon. You moved there about 5 months ago? 6 months ago?
I October 5th. It was my first impression. Stunning, amazing. It was fall. The street that I lived down was the Tree City for 22 years straight, but the winter was dreadful. Rain and I mean, like every day, no sunshine and rain. And I came from Florida, right, for 22 years in the Sunshine State to I had a couple of weeks of fall and then rain and cold all day, every day. So that was brutal. But the sun is out. It's hitting me right now. It's fun.
When you say cold, is it 40s or?
It was 28 this morning.
Okay.
So
Okay.
cold.
Have you explored much of the state yet? Have you been to Bend? Have you been to Corvallis? Have you been to Eugene?
So it's been so closed here that
That's true. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Just opened, but I will tell you. So we opened on Valentine's Day weekend. It opened, and I went into Portland right for the first time. Did some breweries with my girlfriend. The Sunday after next, my sister and I have a reservation at Lady Hill Winery, and she's having live music and wine tasting. I have wine. If I do go Google Map, there's like wineries like all around me. I'm in the Willamette district.
Yeah.
So I'm really forward to that.
Super cool. So are you closer to Salem then than you are to Portland, or
no? I'm closer to Portland. I'm closer to Portland, but I'm only like 45 minutes from Salem. So
okay.
I'm like 30 minutes from Portland and like 45 minutes from Salem.
Cool. The Coldwell Banker Brokers of the Valley Valley Brokers is a great company down south of where you're at.
They've got Coldwell Banker in Lake Oswego here. So we've got a Coldwell Banker in Lake Oswego. And we've got a Coldwell Banker Premier that's over in Newburgh, Lucinda. So I just met Lucinda a couple weeks ago. So there's definitely some Coldwell Bankers around this area. I've just started getting out. So.
And other than the weather, Wendy, what's something you miss most about Florida? Is there one restaurant or one pub or one like bike riding trail? What's like the one or two things that you really miss about the Sarasota area?
The banyan trees, they're magical. So I would say the banyan trees, and just I miss rooftop bars.
Yeah.
That over the water. Like, I mean, it does not matter what goes wrong in your life. Like, if I could just get into the, like, just show me the water, like get me there, and the world just gets smaller and your problems go away. So
nice.
I've always been a water person my whole life.
Well, it's not ocean, but if you get down to Corvallis, there's some pretty cool breweries that have some rooftop bars down there. Yeah. I
did go to the coast. I had my first visitor from Florida come last weekend, and we went out to the coast, and it's absolutely gorgeous. It's way different, right? Because it's rocks and cliffs and waves, and you can't get near the water, but it is breathtaking, really pretty.
Hey, Wendy, this has been amazing. I'm so excited and glad that you came on. Let's go to the Carp's Corner Conversations famous speed round. Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions. You don't have to give me long answers. We might get long on them, but that's okay. Just kind of give me your first thoughts and let's have a conversation. The clock starts now. Okay. Favorite vacation spot?
Anna Maria Island.
Wow. Okay. Shout out to my boy Todd Miner. He goes down that direction. Do you have a place there?
No, but I'm going to. It's a goal of mine.
What's that?
It's a goal of mine. I will have a place there. And
how did you discover Anna Maria Island?
5 years from now. It's
how did you discover it?
I lived close to it.
Yeah.
I lived 45 minutes away, but most people go to Siesta Key, or so someone told me about Anna Maria Island, and I went out there for the first time and was just like, I mean, it's just, yeah, you've been?
Yeah, it's pretty. I've never been to stay. I've never stayed overnight, but I know where it's at. Yeah. How about this? Favorite band or singer? Who's your go-to jam?
Janis Joplin.
Nice. We just had her on our Lost Lyrics show on Friday night, Mercedes-Benz. Movie that you've watched the most. Not necessarily your favorite movie, but your movie that you've watched the most, which could be Wizard of Oz. Favorite scene in Wizard of Oz?
There's no place like home. When she clicks her little heels together. How is that not your favorite?
So at the parade, when the whole thing's coming together, her goal has been reached.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you know I built a leadership training program around that movie called the Yellow Brick Road to Success?
I did not. That's awesome.
I did it at the Coldwell Banker Leadership Conference in Jacksonville. That's when David Marine and I met for the first time. And I break down the whole movie and tie it into leadership. So kind of cool.
Awesome.
All right. This is a good one. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Vanilla. I know that's so
what?
That's totally lame, but I do my ice cream with fruit in it. So like vanilla ice cream with peaches, like from the can. Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay, all right. Best advice from mom or dad or both that you still use?
Best advice from dad: don't ever spend more money than you have right now.
Okay, he's just old school baby boomer, isn't he?
Yep.
Hard worker, money was important to him.
Yep.
But
credit cards were a no. If you put something on a credit card, you pay it off 100% the second that you get it in the mail. So and I still do that to this day.
Good for you. Good for you. Are you a pet owner?
No.
No. Would you get another cat or would you get a dog?
I would get a dog.
Atta girl. That's that Coldwell Banker in you. Get a dog. All right. Here's a good question. You might not know the answer to this one right now, so just give me your generic answer. What's your ideal weekend look like?
At the beach.
Okay.
At the beach, sunset, some champagne on a Sunday morning, music, frisbee, games, all of the above. In a nice
so I can't sit at the beach. I cannot lay on a blanket and not do anything.
I can do that a little bit. Yeah. But I have to do all of it. Like I can lay and then I want to play frisbee and then I've got the ladder game. I carried a bag of games with me when I went to the beach. The ladder game, the frisbee game, and then Kadima. I am a Kadima pro.
Funky cold Kadima. All right. How about this one? What was the last show or series you binge watched?
I've only binge watched one, and it was Breaking Bad, and it took me from March of COVID, the beginning of COVID, until the end of December.
That's the very first show I've ever watched on Netflix, and I watched it, and oh my God, it's the best show ever.
So good, so good.
The character development, so good.
Because I'm not a binge watcher, but I did it. I finished it.
All right, Wendy, something on your bucket list.
Own a house on Anna Maria Island.
All right, love it. Love the way we circled back. And last one, Wendy, what does success mean to you?
You know, I read a book by Earl Nightingale, and I loved his definition of success, which is success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal. So if you have a worthy goal and you are proceeding towards it, that's success.
Very good. Wendy Crane, you are off the Carp's Corner hot seat. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Turn that off. Hey, let's finish up. Tell people how they might be able to get in touch with you if they want to follow you on social media. And we'll leave you to kind of give parting words to the customers before I wrap it up.
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook, Wendy May. I'm on Instagram, Miss Wendy May. I will say I'm just going through some personal stuff right now, so I've kind of walked away from social media just for a little while because I've just got some stuff, and sometimes it's okay to take a walk away. Sure. But I'll be back. I think I'll probably be back mostly on Instagram, Miss Wendy May. And yeah, I mean, my email address, if anybody wants to reach out to me personally, it's wendy@wendycrane.com, just like my name.
Fantastic. Hey, this has been so much fun learning about your background. Another Ohio girl. Proud to see you. IO. Even though I'm a Gator, I'll say it. IO. Guys, this has been great. We had Katie Day. We had Lindsay Listansky. Wendy Crane just killed it on Carp's Corner Conversations. Next week, my really good friend and mentor, Kathy Shiflett. And I'm trying to figure out who I want to bring in for the last Tuesday of the month. But make sure you're back next Tuesday night for Carp's Corner Conversations. On behalf of my friend Wendy Crane out in the Pacific Northwest, I'm Sean Carpenter in Columbus, Ohio. Do me a favor, guys. Keep building relationships, solving problems, and having fun. We'll see you guys later.